Chapter 16. What's wrong? Peter had to run to catch up with her. Jenny, stop! He grabbed her arm. She stopped but didn't look at him. Nothing's wrong, I just want to go home. Take me home, please. First, tell me why you're so angry. He stroked a strand of hair from her face. I'm not mad, I just don't want to spend more time with brainless Barbie dolls. Hey, aren't you a bit quick in judging them? You just met them. Oh, I'm quick to judge. Her fierceness surprised him. They judged me before I even opened my mouth. Just because I came with you, they think I'm your blonde toy for the week. Not only that, but they also think I consider you the prince of my dreams and that I believe we will get married and live happily ever after. They judge me so I can judge them. They're all stupid dimwits. Drive me home. She pulled her arm loose and started walking again. I can't. She twirled and looked angrily at him. What do you mean you can't? I can't drive, I've been drinking. How did you plan to get us home then? Actually, I thought we could sleep over at one of my friends, but I guess that's not a good idea. Who? Jens. The ugly idiot. That's the one. Jenny sank down on a rock and looked out over the sea. He sat down next to her, but didn't put his arm around her. When he spoke, he did so softly and slowly. Are you angry because they think you are my toy, or because you feel like my toy? I don't really know. Am I your toy? As soon as she saw his reaction, she regretted having asked him. The disappointed look he shot at her put a bag of ice cubes in her stomach. Oh, Jenny, I thought we understood each other. You're not my toy, I'm not yours. Life is our toy, and when we don't think it's fun to play anymore, we'll find new playmates. If that happens tomorrow, next week, or next month is irrelevant, as long as we have fun, right now. She had not known these blue eyes could look that serious. It was not until now that she understood him. He didn't toy with anyone. He was just different, not living according to others' opinions. If you feel like my toy, we better call it quits now. That's just not what I want. I really don't want you to feel that way. His eyes changed from serious to sad and dark. It was as if he was leaving her already. No, you're right. Right now you're the most fun playmate I can imagine. She kissed his cheek quickly, nervously. Never mind what others think. The only thing that matters is that we understand each other. He stayed silent, staring at the sea. His body, normally moving fluidly, was all stiff, as if it was frozen, just like the ice in her stomach. It was not until his body relaxed, until the light came back in his eyes, that the ice inside her melted. She plucked up the courage to hold his face and kiss him, long and intensely. Then they sat, with arms around each other, looking into the summer night. The water lapped the boats in the harbour, making them move peacefully up and down. She was getting sleepy and put her head on his shoulder. Suddenly he straightened up and stared at a large boat that looked as if it had travelled many seas. Still, it was well maintained and beautiful. It was called Liberty. Just wait here. He got up and walked slowly toward Liberty. His walk was careful, gentle, as if he was afraid of scaring the boat. When he was just outside it, he called something Jenny couldn't hear. She got up and went after him. As she got closer, she heard him calling, "Dad? Was this his dad's boat? Dad, are you there?" Someone was moving inside the boat. Jenny bit her lower lip in excitement. Peter rarely talked about himself, but now and then he talked about his father, an adventurous sailor. The man who came up on boat deck didn't look at all like Peter. He was short, sturdy, and had dark skin. "Who the fuck are you? What the hell are you doing on Dad's boat?" "Well, who the hell are you? Coming here hollering in the middle of the night, the boat is mine." "Dad would never sell his boat. How the hell did you get it?" Peter walked with long strides towards the man who backed up a few steps. "Now, calm down, kid. I bought the boat. Really. All the papers are in the cabin. Is your dad called Stoltz? Janne or Johan or something like that?" Peter stopped. Did he really sell the boat? "Like I said, I have all the papers." Peter put a hand to his head and shook it slowly. No, you don't have to show me anything. Sorry I disturbed you." The man on the boat shrugged, and Peter returned to Jenny with an absent-minded look in his eyes. Gently, she put her hand on his arm. He turned around and called out again, "When did you buy Liberty?" Bought her a year ago in Smögen. Nice guy, your daddy. Peter nodded briefly. Jenny walked silently next to Peter, who was completely lost in his own thoughts. She led him across the cliffs to a place between the rocks where they could sit out of sight and out of the wind. They sat down, still without exchanging a word. After another 10 minutes, she finally broke the silence. When did you last talk to your dad? When he looked at her, he looked surprised, as if he had forgotten she was there. Talked to him some 7-8 years ago, I think, but he sends me postcards a few times a year. He never forgets my birthday, and he always sends me Christmas cards. Her eyes grew big. Oh, I thought you and your dad had a great relationship. We do. It would have been even better if my mother hadn't scared him away. He picked up some stones lying on the ground and threw them, one by one, into the sea. After many stones, he told her. He talked about how his father, Johan, had been a sailor during Peter's first 6 years. He had only been home a few months a year. Peter had loved it when he got home. Johan had shown Peter on the big globe they had at home all the places he had been to. Every time he came home, he brought beautiful, exciting things from all over the world. For hours, he would talk about the people he had met and the places he had seen. Peter's mother, Catherine, had also liked it in the beginning. She loved and admired Johan a lot. Jannik patted him on the arm. Now I know where you get your charm from. When Peter turned 6, Catherine had had enough. Her son needed a real dad. A dad who was home all year. A father who could attend the parents' meetings at school and who could drive him to football training. A normal dad. She didn't realize I didn't want a normal dad. I wanted my dad just the way he was. She wanted to change him, make him something he was not, something he had never claimed to be. After discussing and arguing for almost a year, Catherine got Johan to change jobs. He started working in a car repair shop. I hated seeing my happy, joking, playful dad break down. Johan had hated his new life from the beginning. He couldn't stand working inside the same 4 walls every day, performing the same kind of chores every day. Peter's lovely, funny dad became a bitter, angry man who accused his wife of stealing his freedom. When I was 10, we bought Liberty. Dad came alive again. Every weekend, all year long, Johan was on the boat. It became his life elixir. He dreamed of traveling around the world with Liberty. Sometimes he went away for a week, just like that. His employer got tired of him disappearing every now and then. He was laid off. The day after, he left for 6 months. When he came back, he was his old, happy self again. He had filled up and could live a regular life. He worked at Volvo Penta for a few years. On my 14th birthday, he told Mum and me about the plans he had made over the past 2 years. A round-the-world trip with Liberty. He put maps, brochures and stuff, and a bunch of old photos from his sailing days on the big table in the living room. He talked for hours about everything we would see and do. He was just like the dad he used to be. Before my mum forced him to stay in one place. He was happy. He wanted to go, and this time he wanted us to come along. I thought it was fantastic. I didn't want to go to school anyway. Peter's face lit up. He could still remember the excitement in the room that day, the fire in his chest. It was the best birthday present he had ever had. Guess what Mum said? She said we couldn't just go away like that. She didn't know if work would let her go. I couldn't just leave school. She talked about all the things we had to do, all the things normal people do. My dad left that night. I haven't seen him since. I've hated my mum ever since that birthday. She took away every single one of my father's dreams. Jenny had her arms crossed, holding her elbows, rubbing up and down. His story made her cold. When I finished school, I packed a backpack and left. My mother cried and begged me to stay, but I was not going to let her do to me the same as she had done to Dad. I hitchhiked, jumped trains, worked wherever I could. It was a tough life, but I loved it. When I turned 19, I had seen more of the world than most people do in a lifetime. It was during these years that I began taking photos. I sold some to newspapers and magazines. When I turned 20, I was in Stockholm. Amelia discovered me at a nightclub, and for some reason, my looks were easy to sell. Nowadays, I can travel in style, as you can see. He was silent for a moment, looking out over the sea. Then, with one of his usual smooth movements, he turned to her and stroked her eyebrow with his ring finger. Talking a lot about myself tonight, aren't I? When will you tell me the story of your life? The charming version of him was back. She had found it fascinating to see him when his thoughts and passions took over. At the same time, that side of him was scarier than the carefree, charming boy who looked at her now. Some other time, I'd like to wrap my head around yours first. She hoped he would say something more. Something that could make her understand his unreserved love for a dad he hadn't seen in years. Something that could make her understand his total lack of understanding of his mother's attempt to lead a normal life. But Peter was done. For now, he had nothing more to say. He just looked at the sea, his father's ultimate mistress, as it lay calm and quiet before them. Peter, can't we just sleep out here tonight, under the stars? He tilted his head. Hey, maybe there is a travelling soul inside you after all. What do you mean, after all? Even though you have to study a lot to become a journalist and rehearse with a band since they need you, and she silenced him with her lips on his. I have a sleeping bag in the car, he said. If we lie in it together, we can sleep outdoors without freezing. Later that night, when he was sleeping on her arm, she looked closely at him. He was so beautiful, with his black eyebrows and angular face. His blonde hair lay over her arm and his sensual mouth was half open. Whatever happens, I will always remember this summer night. I will always remember how beautiful you were when you lay on my arm in the moonlight.